This very special episode of A Bunch of Gamers is brought to you by my new drinking habit. I developed one after this. I thought I'd do this video before the actual video because, honestly, the video of me and Zach trying to play F.A.T.A.L is basically me trying to seriously create a character, and Zach straight away realizing it's doomed to failure. And between us, we explained Jack all. So I thought this might be a good way to sit down and actually review and analyze a tabletop game that is F.A.T.A.L. So, to begin, and if you remember nothing else, nor care for anything else about these two videos, please just remember this. F.A.T.A.L is bullshit to its fucking core. It's sexist, misogynistic, broken, boring, pretentious piece of shit that has no right ever being conceived, let alone published. Now, going into this, I expected shit. I expected a giant shitstorm of shit. But, I mean, hell, this is universally accepted as the worst tabletop RPG of all time. But I have faith in humanity. So I thought maybe there was the smallest nugget of goodness, a tiny diamond in the rough. And actually there is. There is one lone, solitary nugget of tea in the entire 900 pages of utter shit and disparity that is F.A.T.A.L. That nugget? There is a magical seed that when you plant it in front of a druid's house, causes everyone to hate the druid when it grows into a tree. Now, you see, I love that. Of course, the one redeeming feature of F.A.T.A.L is a seed of hate. Yeah. So without further ado, let's go through the rest of this bullshit. Piece by goddamn piece. Character creation is a mess. By the way, get used to me saying X is bullshit, Y is a mess, this is complete shit, because I promise you each one of these sections is going to start with one of those lines. But first up on the bat, let's start with the lies that this game says. The game proudly proclaims that you only need 2d10 and a basic knowledge of algebra. And by basic knowledge of algebra, I'm assuming it means at most you would need to understand is A plus B equals C. Because the moment you start introducing sine and cosine and all that, shit gets real and complicated. And also because I'm a nerd, I need to accurately define things. Now, the very first paragraph, you're going to see the formula 4d100 divided by 2 minus 1. In the next video, we're going to see how much problems this causes us. Now, while you can technically do that with, a basic knowledge of algebra and only 2d10, it's not exactly the simplest as 46 and remove the lowest, but whatever, each to his own. The problem, you need to roll that 4 times for each of the major stats, so stuff like strength, dexterity and all that, and then after you rolled each of those 4 stats, you have to find the average of those 4 stats. This took me and Zach 40 minutes. It's a cardinal sin in a tabletop RPG when I can make my dinner in the time it takes to roll the first part of a character. And yes, that was the first part. This is a metaphorical skeleton of your character. But not your literal skeleton. No. You need to roll that shit separately. You see, but before you get to do that, and before you even think about the physical nature and aspects of your character, F.A.T.A.L wants to impose gender penalties, and it's complete shit. I did write a very large and annoying rant about gender equality here, but it shorts down to, when you start penalizing across the board for gender, it becomes a mess. I mean, sure, -1 to strength for women, +1 to wisdom is probably the most I would go, and then flip that for men, because +1 and -1 mean jack shit. F.A.T.A.L goes all out in these sort of things. But the interesting part here, if anything can be described as interesting, are the races the game gives you. So we talk about gender, and then we go straight to races. Now, you have your basic races, your dwarf in 3 flavors, your elves in 2 flavors, humans don't actually have any flavors. Okay, whatever. Then you've got the more esoteric stuff like your trolls, which come in a whole bunch of flavors, ogres, including a flavor that comes specifically with eaten children, and then stuff like kobolds and bugbears. And then you have Anakim. Now, the reason I'm focusing specifically on Anakim is all the other races are your basic, you get +2 to one of the minor stats, stuff to your personality, which I'll get into later. These guys have special abilities, which you can really roll for. Now, it can be stuff ranging from weird eyes to a tail, to belch musically and melodically. Yeah, I'm not redoing this. To seal orifice once per day. Yeah, you can, seal someone's ass with magic. I'll get to the magic. So, basically, all in all, the races are boring, and the gender sets are just offensive. Alright, now we get to F.A.T.A.L's alignment system. F.A.T.A.L's alignments are nonsensical, and even within its own context, completely bullshit. Rather than standard good versus evil of a D&D style, good, evil, lawful, chaotic, with neutral in the middle trees, F.A.T.A.L goes along the lines of moral and immoral versus ethical and unethical, with neutral in the middle. Which is fine, like everyone has their own different tastes on alignments, and when you get down to it, good, evil, chaos, and law are just basically subjective anyway. But F.A.T.A.L doesn't even bother with the pretense of some of these alignments. For example, it doesn't give an example for someone who is moral, but neutrally ethical. Mostly because how the hell can you be an upstanding moral citizen, but don't give a damn about ethics? If you're an upstanding moral citizen, you're going to care. But also, this thing F.A.T.A.L has this flaw. A really, surprise, surprise, it has a flaw, where it does things by race and not by class. And it just defines you by your race. Which I'm pretty sure is the definition of racism. Or at least hate through definitions of a race. For example, humans are listed as purely neutral, with druids. I have no problem with druids being neutral, because that's just a remnant from old school D&D. Classes being neutral, being defined by their alignments, is fine. Because good luck trying to find a necromancer who is completely, moral. Or completely ethical. You're going to find that. Humans, though, completely neutral. Apparently, they call they're immoral or unethical, or they have the opposite either. They just don't give a fuck about either side. But what if that human was to become a knight, who in F.A.T.A.L are always moral and always ethical? So either they're an outlier, or what? F.A.T.A.L just seems to disregard the fact that no race is 100% moral or ethical. Like I said, you'd find it hard to say, you're an ethical necromancer, for example. You could be a moral one, I only take, donated dead bodies and all that, and I try and not, getting cut off by a chainsaw, but hey, that sort of stuff. I'm skipping over the mind portion of character creation. Why? It's bullshit. It is just mostly bullshit. Sure, they get some of, post-traumatic stress and all that right, but pretty much every second illness is pretty much, you want to have sex with something. Be it a corpse, yourself, or anything in which dongle A can be inserted into socket B. Because, and there's another reason. I'm skipping it because this fucking game has the idea to include a chapter on sexuality. Let me preface this. I'm not a good person. I'm not a smart person. All I have is a basic understanding of morals, ethics, and things like chivalry and basic human decency. I am a dick sometimes. I'm a dick a lot of the times. But on the whole, I try and make up for it. Why am I mentioning this? Because this entire chapter It just seems to be Fatal's way of saying, of making up for itself, and says like, "Hey, look at me! I'm being educational and standing up for something." It's not. First off, and just to expose some of the lies, you need to roll a d12 and a d12 plus 1d20 minus 1. Never forget the minus 1. And then 5100 minus your age. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be 5d100 or actually 5100, but all this is to figure out your birth date. Lo and behold, you can't just write one down. Nope, you have to roll for it. But that's not the bullshit. The bullshit is the roll you need to make for pregnancy. This is all in the sociality chapter, by the way. The roll for pregnancy is 1d10 million. That's not hyperbole or anything like that. It is literally 1d 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. Remember, folks, you only need 2d10 to play this game. But then it just gets better and better. The game includes a code of chivalry. Up until this point, the game has been a thinly eluded date rape RPG without the date. This code of chivalry, in which all moral citizens and, at the very least, knights are supposed to follow, includes commandments like respect women, respect life and freedom, exhibit self-control. The game so far has been a long haul between disrespect, bullshit, boredom, and debauchery, and is now preaching the morals of women respect and self-control. By the game's own standard, it's a piece of shit. And I'm not even touching the art of courtly love, which is demeaning and utter crap. On the other hand, I've never had a girlfriend, so what the fuck do I know about love? Now we get to the class system. It's shit. There are some standard classes, your ranger, your knight, your druid. There are some weird classes which seem cool from like a role-playing perspective, blacksmith, mountaineer, spy, that sort of stuff. Then you have classes like whore, brothelier, which is also known as he who trains for whores, brickmaker, cheesemaker, cowherd, and slave. Now, not all classes have to be equal. Not all classes have to be reality warping wizards or have whiz-bang fun stuff. Hey, basic fighter gives you a lot of options in D&D. But are you honestly going to tell me that your game is never going to have a problem when one of your classes can literally make a person sex themselves to death and the other person is a slave? However, I will justify most of this when I will say I do like how each class advances in a different way. For example, a warrior gains XP, or advancement points in this game, by wailing away at someone. A cheesemaker gets AP for making cheese. Each class advances like that, not just a generic XP across the board. And then this redemption can burn in hell when I tell you it takes 1000 AP to advance to a level. It doubles from there. The most, for example, a warrior might gain from wailing at someone is 1 XP. Now, for some reason, wine cries get 100 XP anytime alcohol and water mix, but I'm not even... The game is... It's just... I'm done. And if you're going to honestly roll your characters, and I have no problem with games saying, hey, you should probably honestly roll this, it's more fun, whatever. It's a D1000. And then you roll for your skills. The skills. There are 4 pages of skills. And they're all shit. First off, the amount of skill points you get is based off race, not class. So you could be a noble scholar with the highest intelligence in the world. But if you're an ogre, you're only getting D100. As opposed to the other schmuck who could be a complete idiot, he'll get 1D100 plus 75 if, he's a human. Secondly, pissing is a skill. And I'm done talking about the skills. Let's move on to the equipment. It ranges from the adventuring standards, rope, crowbars, ladders, marbles instead of, caltrops in D&D, to, the housemaker's dream of mattresses, shelves, wardrobes, all that sort of stuff, to stuff like condoms, dildos, and aged urine. That's enough about the equipment. In terms of weapons and armors, I'm actually impressed by the armor. They've got stuff like, it's not just a suit of armor. It's back, the front, the pauldrons, the cauldrons. And then it makes sure you never want to deal with any of that because it's far too complicated and the AP system is complete bollocks. But it's okay. I'm not talking about the combat. I'm just skipping over it completely because it has pages upon pages of hit tables I can't be bothered to read, and it makes Dark Heresy's critical hit tables look like chain kittens. Which is fine, but, no one's ever successfully created a Fatal character, so you're never getting into combat system. But what you might use is a magic system, which is possibly in the running for the award for a fantastic idea ruined by perverts. By the way, the second product in that award is the vibrating Xbox controllers. You know why. See, the magic system stems from the idea that there is a fifth element called ether, that alongside with water, fire, earth, and air forms the basics of magic. This entire relationship is represented by the pentagram of a circle, where ether is at the bottom point and goes around water, fire, earth, and air. The lines and the circle represent the various ways elements interact with each other. And it's actually a pretty good concept, I like it. But you use this concept to, say, cast against menstruation, while you fumigate a woman's ass with donkey dung. It's a very good concept, but it just falls apart under F.A.T.A.L's bullshit, so I'm just left hating all of it. Every spell in this book is either for perverts, used to help further perverts, or is useless. For example, called God. It will call him, and then the book specifically states that he'll probably be pissed and try to kill you. Though, let's just say maybe you've realized that maybe calling God might be a bit of a game breaker, and the GM will probably kill you. Maybe you thought out maybe another power. How about develop breasts, which does exactly what you think to an unlimited size? Or perhaps you want to delve into necromancy. You're not a moral necromancer, you're not an ethical necromancer, you're just a piece of shit. In that case then, you have a spell called F.A.T.A.L, which the game outright states the only use for this spell is copulation. And that's enough about magic. I'm done. That was only 500 pages of the 900 pages shit vest, and I can't do it anymore. I'm not getting into magical items like Ring of Lords, Cloak of Self-Carving, which makes someone try to blow themselves and probably snap their neck in the process. And the Ring of Lords does exactly what you think it does. It just boggles my mind. Hell, I skipped over the combat and this is still bullshit. F.A.T.A.L is terrible. There is no redeeming factor. Even that seed of hate I said at the start isn't a redeeming factor anymore under all this shit. Let me put it this way. I'm reading off a script right now. And the script of this video, at this point, is just about 1800 words long. And in those 1800 words, I cannot find a single one that expresses my rage, shame, sheer anger and disbelief I have for this game. This thing can burn in hell for all eternity, and all I care about is if I have enough marshmallows to roast on it. Fuck this game.